going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Unfounded Podcast. I am your host, Chris Turner. Back at it, guys. I got lots of ideas recently, and honestly, like I've said before, I'm very bored right now, so I'm going to keep pumping some stuff out to you guys. Excuse me. But anyway, I'm doing good still. It's only, 2 days since the last episode. I hope you enjoyed that last one. Or was it yesterday? Did I make that yesterday? Crap, I did it yesterday. Ignore me. So yeah, yesterday's episode. Like I said, I've been pumping them out so much I can't really keep track of the days. And also, like I said in yesterday's episode, time elongation, shortening, all of the malleability of time itself is being made apparent, abundantly clear right now, because time seems to kind of be slipping away, or I'm losing track of time for nothing else. But anyway, I do have some stuff top of mind this morning, and actually this morning I kind of wanted to focus on a certain article and image actually that I found. I just posted on my Facebook right before this, but I think it's important to talk about because it has to do with the economy, the market itself, and how kind of the Wall Street's performance, how well that kind of represents the rest of us, how well we're doing. You know what I mean? I think quite often we associate the market success with like individual success. And this is kind of one of the unfounded ideas that I want to prod today. All right, so, but to do that, we're going to start off with a little article I pulled up, found earlier today, actually, that I found extremely interesting. And I'm going to read most of the key points here for you, but I will post the link to the full article in the episode notes. Okay, so this one is from CNBC. It's about Mad Money with Jim Cramer. So if any of you guys watch CNBC, the Market Watch, all that kind of stuff, Jim Cramer is a very popular economist and kind of Wall Street speculator that has a show. He has that show where he like bangs on all the buttons and stuff and makes the crazy noises. Anyway, this is the guy we're talking about, right? So the title of this article is Jim Cramer Responds to Viral Mad Money Picture. There's a seething anger sweeping this country aimed at Wall Street. So, key points. At the end of the day, the stock market's made up of big, huge companies, not the small to medium-sized businesses that are the backbone of our economy, CNBC's Jim Cramer said Tuesday. So that's a quote by Jim. Next key point. I agree, it's messed up, but the contrast between a roaring stock market and an obliterated job market does tell you a lot about what's happening at this moment, he said. This third key point. You don't have to like it. I know I don't. But it's the big dogs with pristine balance sheets and gigantic scale that can survive the lockdown, the Mad Money host said, as the Dow rallies against the backdrop of record layoffs. So the reason that he's quoting all of this, the reason that he's saying all this, obviously, is because the market, at least yesterday, I believe this was yesterday that this happened, is doing really good. The market's soaring right now. And there was this picture that was taken of one, it's a kind of a screenshot of one of Jim's shows. I think it was yesterday. Was this yesterday? No, this is April 10th, it looks like. April 9th, April 10th. AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, was one of the main people that retweeted this. Just disclaimer, I'm not her biggest fan. There's a lot of reasons for that, but we can get into that in another time, right? Anyway, she retweeted it, and with the caption, "When late-stage capitalism takes a selfie," and the image itself, you can go on my Facebook to see it if you want to see it, but it's a picture, a screenshot of Jim's show. In the background is a screen that says the Dow's best week since 1938, and it kind of has a graph of like an exponential increase, right? And then right below that, the banner says more than 16 million Americans have lost jobs in 3 weeks. So it's this really stark contrast between the experience that a lot of Americans are going through right now, and then the kind of how some of the biggest organizations in our economy are benefiting, right? They're obviously having the best week since 1938. Something's off there, right? I found this really fascinating as soon as I saw it, right? Because I think it's pointing out a lot of the issues that we've been talking about. So I wanted to cover it a little bit. So, like I said, I don't want to read the whole article because, again, this was written by Tyler Clifford, and it's his work. I don't want to present it as if it's my own, but I just wanted to read the key points there for you so you understand what I'm talking about. But if you do want to read the full article that he wrote, it will be in the show notes. Anyway, the reason I bring it back is because this is something I've been feeling for a while, is that our economy no longer serves us. Some of my friends that we often, that I sit down and have these kind of more long-form conversations with, I've talked about this a lot with, saying for the last couple of years, actually, that the economy itself, capitalism, has some inherent problems, right? Like every system does. Like, no system's perfect. So I want you to know from the outset that by criticizing our system, I'm not saying it's like inherently bad or something like that. You know what I mean? I think that we've developed systems based on our, the information data sets we have at the time, and we try to make the best systems possible at the time with the information we have. I think that's really what happens. And, we have this capitalist system that's worked for the last 300 or 400 years, but I do believe has some, obviously some issues inbuilt within that system that incentivizes bad actors, actually rewards bad actors, and creates exactly this kind of dichotomy that you're seeing exemplified in this screenshot, where it's separated. The benefit, what's good for the stock market isn't always what's good for the American people, right? And that's something that I think that's a point that we need to make right now, because this is the area that we need to focus on if we want to fix or make the economy work better for people, like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez always talks about, right? She's kind of this people's champion. At least that's the way she presents herself, right? And we need to kind of help people help themselves. One of the best ways you do that, I think, is by pointing out the weak spots in the economy, the places where the economy is producing needless inequality, right? I think here's the thing, though. I got to be really careful here, because needless inequality, like that, that assumes that what forms of equality are necessary and inequality is necessary. You know what I mean? And I don't think that's true. There's an audacity built into that idea. The idea that you could glean how much suffering is necessary, you know what I mean, or how much inequality is necessary exactly, which is impossible for any one person or I think humanity to glean. So it's more like how do you make a system that reduces suffering the most, but also recognizes that suffering is an inbuilt part of nature. I think that's kind of the trick of it. And making sure that people aren't incentivized to benefit off of suffering, which is one of the places I think we've gone wrong in this economy. Is there's no checks in place to keep bad actors or people that are just greedy, right? Which I would label as bad actors. That negative aspect of people's personality, their desire to want more and more and more and more and more. I think that creates bad actors. Selfishness, at least, and this kind of selfishness can leach into society in really kind of insidious ways. But partially what's happening, I think, in this, and it's exemplified in this screenshot, is that this has been happening for a long time, and it's just very blatantly obvious that the market's what benefits the market does not benefit the most of us, right? So what do we do with this, right? Because the other thing that's really, I think, is happening right now is I think a lot of the richest people in our societies right now are I think they're wielding their wealth to try to generate more, because it's precisely in the times when people are panicking, when when people are afraid, when you kind of can predict what they're going to do more readily. They're hard to control, but you have an idea more, you have a better idea of what the general population is going to do if they're all scared. You know what I mean? And so you get them all scared, and then you entice them back into the market. It's why I would be very weary, and again, I'm not an economist, but I would be very weary of getting into the market or buying into the market or trying to buy the bottom right now, because I think there's a lot of fat cats that are betting on you trying to do that exactly. They're betting on you trying to get into the market precisely when you shouldn't, and then selling off, right? And I think that's an alarm. I don't know why there's an alarm going off today. Anyway, I think there's a lot of people that are betting on that, and not a lot of people, but a few very powerful and very, very well-off people. Like I said, you got to be very careful. I think there's a lot of things that we have considered founded that we need to start looking at as not the most solid. Like, for instance, the dollar itself, I think you need to start questioning and being a little weary of. We may be reaching a point where the dollar is no longer going to be kind of that stalwart representation of value in the world, right? I think that's probably going to transition into a digital form, like Bitcoin or something like that. The reason I say that is because it's a money is a technology. The dollar is a technology, and it's just a very old form of technology. It's very, very old, antiquated. Carrying around a piece of paper that represents a certain value is a very old idea, and it's we did it with coins before that, right? But it's that old. I mean, it goes back to like Roman times, Greek times, like, and even older than that probably. Every most modern cultures all the way back to I think like Macedonia had a currency system of some sort. So, it's this really old technology that we're failing to recognize as such. And there's this new technology that's the same thing. It operates in the same realm, I guess, that has come to be in the last 10 years that is actually showing, I think, more stability than the actual market itself now. Everybody criticized Bitcoin and all these other coin markets for how unstable they were. Well, go look at them the last 2 or 3 weeks and compare them to the stock market. There's still volatility, but they're starting to look a little more similar. I think there's a reason for that. I think that there's wealth that's about to be transferred from the stock market, traditional stock markets, into digital currency markets like Bitcoin. And I think that there's going to be a massive transfer of wealth very quickly at some point, here fairly soon, that you need to watch for. And this is exactly what's going to precipitate the economic collapse and the downfall of the dollar itself, which is something we have to be really, that's partially why the Fed, when they passed this stimulus package, also created the digital dollar. Let's look that up. I'm pretty sure that's what they did. Digital dollar. Let's see. Okay, so this is from Forbes. It says, forget the coronavirus stimulus bills, digital dollar. The digital euro is coming. Digital dollar proposals included in an early draft of a massive U.S. coronavirus-induced stimulus bill have reignited the debate over government-run payment platforms. A provision for a digital dollar was part of a draft stimulus bill. Well, I thought it passed. Maybe I was wrong about that. I thought it was in the final version. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. We'll have to figure that out. A provision for a digital dollar was part of a draft stimulus bill put together by the U.S. Democratic Party as a means to make payments to people and businesses hit by coronavirus-induced economic turmoil, but it didn't make the final cut. While plans for the digital dollar have fallen by the wayside for now, others aren't far behind. China's digital yuan, is in the pipeline, and now a digital euro is being trialed by France's central bank. Okay, so this is basically saying, this is by Billy Bambro, and again, I'll post this for you guys in the show notes from Forbes. But he brings up a good point, Billy does, and this is kind of the point I'm trying to bring up as well, is the world is moving towards this digital form. And these markets itself, the dollar has always, since we got rid of the gold standard, the dollar itself has always been backed, the value of it is backed by purely consumer sentiment. Your belief in the dollar's value itself is what gives it value in a weird way, which is precisely similar to what I think happens in a Bitcoin market, except you would traditionally invest in the U.S. dollar, I believe, I may be wrong about this, by buying U.S. Treasury bonds, right? But which is it's usually one of the more stable purchases you can buy, because the value of the dollar itself is fairly stable, right? But what I'm wondering is if what the crypto markets are doing is kind of allowing people to represent consumer their belief in the value of the currency itself with another currency, which is really weird. You know what I mean? It's like you can take any currency and show how much you believe in the value of Bitcoin itself by putting that much currency into it. You know what I mean? And so you're backing currency with currency in a weird way, which is, it seems needlessly complicated, but the way I'm viewing it is as kind of almost like a supply chain, like if those markets, those coin markets, are the end of the supply chain, the dollar itself or the euro or whatever other kind of currency we have currently in different systems across the world, those are the kind of the intermediaries for these new markets. They're the backbone. They are the gold standard for those markets, right? Your dollar that you invest in Bitcoin is what serves to back up the value of Bitcoin. And so I see at some point it's going to have to be triggered by a global event, a global economic downturn, or some kind of fear-based event where people get scared, pull their money out, and transfer it into that. But if that happens, if too many fat cats or just a few fat cats do that at the same time, the value of the dollar will crash. The stock market will crash, and in turn, the value of the dollar will crash. Right? That's what I think, at least. And Bitcoin, these other kind of digital currencies will absolutely skyrocket in a matter of like hours, I'm talking. Because you're going to have, you have to think about, the biggest investors, let's see, investors on Wall Street wealth. Let's see how much, let's see, the richest investors. That's what I want to find out. I know there's, a bunch of hedge fund people that run hedge funds and stuff like that. So 10 of the richest investors in the world. Number 1 is Warren Buffett, obviously. Okay, as the CEO of the massive Midwestern conglomerate Berkshire Hathaway. So yeah, he has the Berkshire. I'm trying to figure out how much money they have. Let's see. Warren Buffett's wealth. $74.24 billion US dollars. Now, what's the current value of Bitcoin? Let's see here. 6,727 US dollars. That's for one Bitcoin. So how many Bitcoins could Mr. Warren Buffett buy? Let's see. I'm going to do a real quick calculation just to see. So what? Let's see. How much was it? 74. That's a lot of money. Trying to write out $74 billion. Have you ever tried to do that? 74 0 0 0 0 0 0. Right? 0 0 0. Is that right? Is that trillion? That's trillion. That's 1,000. That's no. Oh my God, that number just doesn't look right. Oh my God. Bro. Mr. Warren, you're way too rich, my man. I shouldn't say that, but I actually really like Warren Buffett. If you've ever, he's philanthropic. He reinvests a lot of that. Jeff Bezos obviously has 136.63 billion. Bill Gates 103 billion. Bernard Arnault 90 billion. You see what I'm saying? There's like 5 people that have a ridiculous amount of wealth. If one or two of those people, right? So now here I'm going to divide this now. Divided by, like for instance, right now, if Warren Buffett invested all of his net worth, which he would never do because it's probably in a lot of different buried assets, right? But if he was to every cent he has into Bitcoin, he would be able to buy $11,034,892 Bitcoin, valued at $6,800 each. So I guess I don't know why I did the calculation, because I can't figure out how to go from there to figure out how it would affect the price of Bitcoin, because that's a pretty complicated. I think that'd be pretty complicated. But anyway, you get the point. If somebody dumped that much money into the Bitcoin market right away, it would skyrocket. The value of Bitcoin would absolutely skyrocket, like in the matter of a second, as soon as you did it. Now, what if one or two of those guys do it at the same time? What if Bezos and Warren Buffett get together, or at the same time see the same market trends, see the market starting to crash, or are planning on the market crashing, and pull all their money out at the same time? Put it into Bitcoin. What happens? The U.S. dollar crashes. The economy itself, the Wall Street crashes, and with it, the value of the U.S. dollar crashes, because we also printed a bunch of money at the same time, right? Like, this is what I see possibly happening if we're not careful. the incentives for the investor do not always align with what's best for the country itself, right? And we've granted the investor a lot of power, when we allow this kind of wealth accumulation to happen. And now we have 2 or 3 people that can literally determine the direction of the global market, the global economy, by where they decide to put their money. Isn't that fantastic? You know what I mean? Usually it had to be like a country. That's the wealth of a lot of countries. You're sitting here, like the GDP of many countries. Let's see, like the GDP. What's that? GDP of top 100 countries. Let's see what that is. I want to see where it ranks. Not per capita. Let's see here. We've got GDP, purchasing power, in the billions of dollars. What? Okay, yeah. So, I mean, it's what it looks like, at least, if I'm reading this correctly. People like Warren Buffett have as much purchasing power, technically, as countries like Bahrain, Slovenia, Macau, Yemen, Uruguay, Nepal, Bolivia, Costa Rica, Lebanon, Paraguay, Jordan, Uganda, Cameroon. If you want to go to Jeff Bezos, which is almost double the net wealth of Warren Buffett, you get to jump all the way up to places like Puerto Rico, Cuba, Guatemala, Bulgaria, Tanzania, Kenya, Dominican Republic, Sudan. These are countries. New Zealand. These are entire countries. So that's what's happened. That this is partially a product of our economic system. It's one of the negative aspects of capitalism itself is it allows this unfettered wealth generation or wealth accumulation to happen, right? And just like you don't want to have one person in a government system have all the power, you don't want to have 1 or 2 people in an economic system have all the money, because it is effectively power then over all of your systems. When you've allowed money to infiltrate our political system, where you can influence it by investing in or supporting different political campaigns, well, what you just did is also granted people a lot of political power too. When that infiltrates, so those two systems, cross-contaminated in the 1970s, late 1970s with Citizens United, like that all. You made the investor more powerful than the politician. Understandably so, because politicians are the direct, you can point to the politician as the direct cause of, or you can blame them very directly for pretty much everything that's going on in society, any negative consequences, right? So take away their power, right? Take away the politicians' power. They're the bad ones. Give it to the economists. Give it to the investors. They're the good ones. No, wrong. They're all bad ones. We're all humans. No. You don't just transfer power to another group of people thinking that they have the better plan or they're more moral. No. You operate based on the assumption that everybody's shitheads and they're all going to try to take advantage if you give them too much power. You know what I mean? But, hey, freedom, right? The American dream, right? It's one of the inherent flaws within the American dream, the system we've created. Everybody can't become wealthy. Everybody can't have this kind of limitless wealth generation. And when you allow bad actors to be rewarded within that system, you create a dominance hierarchy that makes it almost nearly impossible for wealth to not be accumulated amongst a very, very few. I would argue, I don't know. Like I said, I don't want to be too critical of a lot of these people. There's one name on this list that I am very critical of. I'm going to leave it at that. But at the same time, I think that this is a big problem, Where do we start? On this Jim Cramer thing, right? This picture. The Dow's best week since 1938, more than 16 million Americans have lost jobs in 3 weeks at the same time. What's wrong there? What's off? Something's backwards, something's sideways. Right? So all these backwards incentives that have been at play for the last 30 years are now popping their head up. The system can't sustain itself. There's some fundamental flaw. And it won't take very long, very many screenshots looking like that, before people are going to get really angry. And people are going to get really mad. There's a lot of, if you go on to read this article, one of the things it says, one of the things Jim says is people, like, it's in the top. I think I already read it. Let's see. At the end of the day, the stock market's made up of big, huge companies, not the small to medium-sized businesses that are the backbone of our economy. So, that shows you. When the backbone of our economy, those small businesses are doing the worst, all those big businesses are doing the best, right? And it makes sense. Where are you going to get all your shit? You're getting all your toilet paper from Target and Walmart and Amazon and all these ones. Even if it wasn't intentionally created, all of this stuff that's going on, the coronavirus wasn't intentional. There's a power vacuum right now that people are grabbing, and organizations are grabbing at. I was thinking politically when I initially said this, but I was talking to my parents when this first all started to happen. I kept on telling them I have this weird feeling that this is a power grab. Somebody's behind the scenes doing something right now, and we're gonna find out in a little while who's trying to grab the power. It may be the organizations, the institute, the companies. You know what I mean? Trying to grab up and seep up all of those little businesses while they can. And if they're too effective at it, they're going to absolutely cripple the U.S. economy. The backbone of our economy. The very institutions that are supposed to be the backbone of our economy may cripple it. Backwards incentives. You see what I'm saying? Oh, man. I just found this absolutely... Oh, sorry. Why? No. I don't want you to play a video. Stop it. No. Stop it. All right. Hold on, guys. Sorry. I don't want a masterclass. It's trying to give me an advertisement here. Sorry, guys. And I don't want to take a masterclass right now. Thank you. Anyway, but those actually look pretty cool. Have you seen the classes where they have like really famous individuals teach you something? I don't know how I feel about that. It's very cool that you have access to those people. I like that. But you also know how I feel about experts, right? So, I guess maybe, I don't know. You get what I'm saying. But yeah, so I think we got to watch this. We got to watch how I think the next month or two unfolds economically, because what did I post? Did I post it the other day? There's a lot of economists now that 2 or 3 weeks ago were saying, oh, it's going to recover, we're going to be back on a quick recovery, don't worry about it. They're now saying this is going to be really bad, right? And it's mainly centered around the unemployment numbers and stuff that I talked about yesterday, right? The one thing we don't know is those unemployment numbers are really inflated because, obviously it was, the service industry, those sectors that got hit the hardest, and that's a big part of our economy, is just those, restaurants, things like that. The question we don't know is how is that unemployment number going to stay the same? Is it going to hold steady even after, the restrictions are lifted? And I think it will, because I think a lot of those businesses that were smaller aren't going to be there. Those restaurants aren't going to be there. So that unemployment number is going to stay pretty high. Now, like I said yesterday, if you have people that have, hey, I've got here's $20,000 you can use. Well, they're going to use that up then. You know what I mean? And I think if every single person that applied for unemployment uses up their unemployment benefit completely, we're screwed. You know what I mean? We're absolutely screwed, I think, at that point. I just don't see how that's sustainable. We're going to bankrupt each individual state doing that, And because honestly, where that wealth has to come from is the billions upon billions of dollars is now accumulated amongst 5 people. All that wealth, that's the money that needs to be, reinvested or stimulate the economy, is the money that's accumulated with one fucking person. But instead, we're going to print money. You know what I mean? And pay people off. Anyway. Destroying the value of the dollar in the process. You're increasing the supply of the dollar when you do that. $6 trillion worth of dollars just printed like that. You decrease the value of it instantly. If you took money that was already in circulation, like I was speculating, you don't have that problem. But it's the stratification of the money that makes it necessary to print more. You know what I'm saying? That's what I think, at least. It's not a zero-sum game either, which is partially why, money now is not a zero-sum game. It used to be, and it probably should be, I think, because that's how you keep, the value of money fairly consistent and predictable. So back it up with something like gold, a gold standard or a silver standard or whatever. As long as you keep a certain amount of gold backing up the value of that money has value. You know what I mean? As long as you don't print too much of it, you'll be okay. But when you take that backing behind it, it's all consumer sentiment. How much do they believe in that money and how much is in circulation? It's still also relevant, right? It's all about purchasing power. If you had a fixed amount of something and now there's more of it and you still have the same percentage of that amount, you have less purchasing power. Value of the dollar is less. So, I think that it's important that we transition into a digital currency fairly quickly. I think it's important that there's a digital, marketplace similar to Bitcoin's that you can invest in the digital dollar the same way, so that Bitcoin has something to compete with that can actually compete with it. Bitcoin's too big right now. It's a whale, I don't think any other currency in the world could compete against Bitcoin right now, save the dollar. So you need to transfer it into a digital. I thought they did, and I'm actually really disappointed. I thought that they established a digital dollar with this passing the $6 trillion stimulus bill or whatever they did, but apparently not, which is not good. Let's see. Calls for the creation of a central bank digital currencies has been growing louder over recent months, spurred on by social media giant Facebook's plans to launch a cryptocurrency sometime this year and China's imminent digital yuan project. Something you should be very scared of, right? Central bank digital currencies could be seen as a tacit endorsement of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, especially if they were to use Bitcoin's underlying blockchain technology, which, for those of you who don't understand blockchain, basically what it is a way of processing transactions or information, and it doesn't have to be a transaction, any kind of data, excuse me, processing any kind of data set securely by breaking it into different blocks and sending it over a vast network to different nodes in that network for processing and then recompiling it all when it's needed, right? Basically what you do is you create a network of computers that makes one big supercomputer that doesn't remember where it sends stuff. That's what it is, basically. So let's say I want to buy some Bitcoin. The way that transaction gets processed is by being sent in little pieces to a bunch of computers, and now it used to be just computers in people's homes, but now it's like these big server processing farms and things like that. It gets sent to that. Each little chunk gets processed, and each individual chunk could be anywhere in the world, right? It could be, one chunk's in China, one chunk's in the U.S., one chunk's in, and then it all gets recompiled, from these different individual pieces, so that your transaction can go through. That's the idea behind a blockchain. It's a very secure way of doing something. It's also why they've been talking about the technology of blockchain to as a method of kind of processing information securely in a digital age. So this technology could be applicable to not only money, I guess is what we're saying, right? Anyway, that blockchain technology is something that Bitcoin established, and it's something that I think the digital dollar could benefit from. The problem is a lot of companies, a lot of the biggest companies in our economy, a lot of banks make almost all of their money off of transaction fees. Most of them, at least. So if you don't have a necessity for a bank to process a transaction, if the transaction is processed through the blockchain technology globally, you don't have to pay for it. It eliminates the bank itself, which is partially why I think there's so much misinformation going around about blockchain and Bitcoin and all these other things, is because there's a lot of companies with a lot of power that it's an existential threat. This technology is like an evolution. And it's threatening our old way of doing things. Banks themselves, I think, are at threat. The traditional banking system is at threat. Now we have this global economic crisis happening at the same time. We are ripe for the picking. You know what I mean? It's about time for this superior technology to take the hell off and for a lot of banks to go under. And that's really unfortunate to say. Because like I said, I don't see how the central banks go under without basically every single American feeling that in their pocketbook drastically. It's just a shame that we've been set up or put in this spot where this kind of failure can happen. But it can, and I think it might. So watch Bitcoin, you know what I mean? If you believe what I'm saying, right? I'd say watch Bitcoin. I don't have very much money in there because I don't have very much money, period. You know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty fucking broke all the time. I'm trying to get out of that hole, but I'm pretty fucking broke all the time. But I got like $100 in Bitcoin. Screw it. If it goes up by like 1,000% overnight, you're going to be a real happy camper with $100 in there. You know what I mean? If you don't have anything in Bitcoin and this thing bottle rockets overnight, you're going to be not only unhappy, you're going to be devastated. Because if that happens, I almost guarantee you the U.S. economy is crashing at the same time. The global economy is crashing at the same time. So, anyways, watch those technologies. We'll do some more research in them. If I think if cryptocurrency it's very intimidating because blockchain itself is kind of a confusing technology. It's very advanced technology, and it's hard to conceptualize what it's doing. So I think it's a good subject to kind of learn about, go inform yourself on, kind of learn figure out. Learn about the different coins and what they're created for and that kind of stuff, and just so you're more up to date on what it is. So if you do, if we do have kind of this evolutionary death in some sense, if the dollar dies off, evolutionary, Bitcoin kills it off, you're ready to jump on. You know what I mean? You're ready to jump on this new technology because I think it can make or break people. I think it might be one of the things that makes or breaks people moving into this new age that I think we're coming into. Is whether you recognize that we have a lot of old antiquated technologies, old systems still very prevalent in the world that are probably being eliminated right now, so anyway, I think that's about all I got today, guys. It's a little shorter one than it's been for the last couple of days, but I hope you enjoyed the podcast. And I will probably, at this rate, be back tomorrow. Who knows? I've been kind of prolific, and I'm glad about that, because there was a couple weeks there when this first started where I was just hitting a wall, man. And I think it's kind of funny if you listen to a lot of the other podcasts, you watch a lot of like YouTube or anything like that, there's been a huge slowdown in content creation. And I think it's because the world itself slowed down. And one of the things I find very interesting is, to me at least, and this may seem, a little cocky at least, but it probably is, but I think it's true still, so I'm going to say it. If you don't have content when, the economy stops, then how important is your content? You know what I mean? And one of the reasons I think I hit a wall there for a couple weeks was because I was trying to figure out a way to bring you guys relevant information and content in a time when the world's just stopped and there's not a lot of stories to go off of besides this one main one. And I think what I ended up realizing is that remarkably this podcast is set up this podcast is set up remarkably well to be relevant regardless of what's going on in the world. And so anyway, long story short, I think what I realized is there's actually more things I can talk about now, which is a weird thing. And I hope that you appreciate that. I hope that it benefits you because, I know for me at least, I'm disappointed in the slowdown of content. When I go out, all these people that I've started to depend on for entertainment, just kind of disappear because the world stops. It's like, oh, shit. Well, yeah, they kind of make sense, but what do I do now, And I hope that this serves as kind of a source of entertainment and content when others are slowing down. All right. And if you do enjoy it, please like, share, and subscribe. All right. I do appreciate the support up until this point. And also, I'm just having a blast doing this. This is a really cool process. I never imagined that I'd actually, be, what am I sitting here, 27 episodes in now? I think it's actually more like 29 episodes in. And moving on pretty close to 200 listeners now. So, really cool stuff, guys, and this has been a lot of fun, and I'm excited to continue on and see where this journey takes us. So thank you for coming on it with me. That sounded weird. thank you for going on this journey with me, and I hope that you're getting something from it. But until next time, stay safe out there, okay? And I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.